for those of you who were on yesterday's session. So let me just get this sorted so I can see the presentation view and make sure that it's moving. Right. Okay.
So just to let
So,
those, sorry Bella, just to let
yes.
those that haven't got the slide pack, Katie Strood has kindly uploaded it into the chat so that you can access it. Thank you,
Thank you,
Katie.
Katie. Right. Okay. So let me quickly get this sorted. Right. Can everybody see the screen? Can you see it says course intent? Can everybody see that
Yes,
at the moment?
yes.
Yeah. Just because somebody yesterday, I think, said that they couldn't see any of the slides, just my face, so that's no good. So everybody can see that, yeah? Okay,
Yes.
good, good, good. Right, so course intent. Right, so the idea today in this session is that we will understand the uses and applications of digital graphics. Okay, so everything we see on the screen is graphics right now. We're seeing colors, we're seeing text, but it's all zeros and ones computer language wise. But for us to understand it, we need to see it visually. And this is what we're going to understand the graphic side, which is very important. Animations for different purposes. So actually animating things, and it's quite easy. You don't have to have like amazing skills to actually animate nowadays because of software. So we'll look at that and understanding visual hierarchy for web pages, which is very interesting. The theories of that. We'll also look at contrast, repetition, alignment, and proximity. Get you to do a couple of tasks on that, trying to find content that represents that. Also, understanding how color palettes are created and also how color can create mood. Okay, so all interesting stuff. Okay. So, design. Okay, so when we need to express something, right? When we need to express something, we want to promote something, marketing. Obviously, we're in digital marketing. We need to think about how best to do that. And using visual cues like color, it makes a massive difference. Okay, so if it's just plain black text on a white background or white text on a black background, it can, in my opinion, it can grab somebody's attention because I've seen sales funnels or sales videos with just white background and black text in the middle and a voiceover. I've seen that, okay, and it works because you haven't got images and graphics to distract you. Okay, so it has its place. But if you're advertising on TV, for example, again, I think it will work, but up to a certain extent. We relate to, something more kind of visual. There's a lot of people who understand things visually. I understand things visually. I would rather see a movie or an animation or a short kind of explainer video rather than having to read some text, right? So everybody learns differently. I'm a visual person. I'm sure some of you guys are as well. So this is what we're going to look at about how to communicate with design. Okay, so design covers a wide range of artistic and professional disciplines, all focused on visual communication. So my degree was actually audiovisual communication. Okay, so it was communication and audiovisual production or something like that. And it was all about this. It was all about how to communicate, how we do like oral communication, we have visual communication. So it's all interesting stuff. And being able to communicate in various ways, it helps you to become a better communicator. And obviously that helps with, various things that we want to do as digital marketers. Okay. So carrying on. Okay, so fundamental questions, right? So whenever a marketer is asked to create something, whether it's a poster, a book layout, a website, or digital marketing content, they must first ask themselves a few questions, okay? So what are these questions? The first thing we need to think about is what we're trying to achieve. What is it that we're trying to achieve from this, okay? Usually, I find myself even, when you're doing something like a bit more creative, you just kind of put pen to paper or pen to screen, and just get on with it. But actually, yes, that can create a creative flow and things may come to you, but obviously there is kind of a theory around that, and um, if you really don't know what you're doing, you might be wasting time again. And if you're doing it for business, time is very important. So the first thing you want to do is ask yourself, what is it that you're trying to communicate? Like, are you trying to sell something? If you're trying to sell something, what is the product? Who's the target audience? Things that we've talked about before, right? So this is important. What is it that we're trying to communicate? Okay. The next question is, in what order do the ideas need to be presented? Because if we're telling a story, and it's text, or we have a voiceover on a video, then we can tell that story beginning to end. But if the story is going to be told by graphics, then that has to be a hierarchy. Like the eyes need to touch, look at something where, the start, of the website. Okay, where do we want the person to look at the beginning and where do we want them to scroll down to? Okay, so that is very important because it makes you think about where do you put the videos, where do you put the header, where do you put I mean, not header, but where do you put the titles? If there's any download buttons, where do you put that? So all of this needs to come into your mind. Like, what is the journey you want a person to take on that visual um, page? So, how do you want the eye to flow through the page? Who is the audience? What tone should be used? Okay, so these are the type of questions we're going to ask. So, let's look at visual hierarchy. Okay, so what do you understand when you hear me say visual hierarchy? What does that mean to you? Anyone?
Which element should be on the first
Yeah.
vision for
Yeah,
us?
that's
Something.
right. That's right. It's a visual hierarchy, as in what should we, what should
What?
grab our attention first? Okay, what
Yes.
should grab our attention first? And then from that, how should we flow with our eyes? Okay, so visual hierarchy refers to ways elements are arranged to guide the viewer's attention in a clear and intentional order. It's about making sure people see the most important information first,
Yeah.
then the next, and so on. Okay, so it's more about that important information first. So, like yesterday, I think I mentioned about if you kind of hide like the product, you can't even find it where it is. Obviously the product needs to be there in your face, right? It needs to be there. But also it could be a video that it's an explainer video you want people to watch. So that would be the first thing that you would put. Okay, you can even have it as a pop-up. So the visual hierarchy is important. And even if it's not video, it could be graphics, but it could be the logo. Okay, maybe it's the logo that you want people to, grab the attention of. So, this could be on posters, it could be on websites, it could be on ads. Sometimes I've seen TV ads where there's no mention of the company at all until the right at the end. Like it's almost like a movie. I've seen that with KFC, that KFC ad, that strange ad with the big chicken or
I have a
something
question,
in the
Bilal.
jungle. Yes, go on for
With the visual
Nicola.
hierarchy,
Yeah.
is there a hierarchy in terms of the medium? So, do people like moving visuals, so like a reel, better than a photo, or um, are videos better? Is there a visual hierarchy? I understand that the
Mm-hmm.
big picture is going to be looked at
Yeah.
first, but
Yeah.
what about the different kinds of visual mediums you get?
Sure. So we have audio, video, text, images. Yep. So all of these different types of medium, right? I personally think that when you've got different types of mediums, you have to choose the best one, okay, for that platform. Okay, so if it's a website, obviously text works really well on websites, videos work really well on websites, images work really well on audio works really well on websites. But if it's something else like a poster, then text and images, but not videos. So obviously, when it comes to digital, videos is great, but then you've got to think about so many other things. Like you've got to think about bandwidth. You've got to think about, is it practical for them to watch a video? Because if you think about audio over video, then audio is sometimes more practical because we can listen to something while we're driving. When we're busy. So you have to think about your target audience. Like, who are these people? Are they people that actually don't have a lot of time and they would rather listen to something than have to watch through a video? So there's a lot of questions you got to ask yourself before you decide on the hierarchy of which one over which, right? So it all depends on the situation, depends on your audience. I personally think audio is underestimated. I mean, audio, if you think about it, think about Alexa, for example, how you're using audio communication is so much quicker. I mean, if you have a podcast and you can listen to it on the way to work, in the on the train, you're saving time, but it's also you're finding time that you'd have used to read a book. But now you're listening to them and it captures you. You've got the full attention as well. So it all depends on the situation, the scenario. Like if you plan it out right, you'll know, okay, for this medium, for this intention, what I'm trying to achieve here, audio is the best thing or video is the best thing. So there's no right or wrong answer. Just basically, you've got to decide depending on why you're creating it in the first place. You know, those questions we were talking about,
So
these ones.
Bilal, apart
Yes.
from the practical, apart from obviously knowing your audience,
Yeah.
what other practical considerations should one think about? So, like you've mentioned bandwidth, that's a good one. So,
Hmm.
video may not be appropriate for people
Yeah.
who've got a mobile or on a train or something. Audio may be better than
Yes.
videos if you're on a train or busy. Are there
Hmm.
any other practical considerations that we need to think about in terms of these different mediums?
Yeah. I mean, you got to think about the economic situation of that audience. I mean, it could be that they're in a country where they can't afford expensive digital devices. It could be that, you're advertising to a younger audience who don't like reading much. I don't know. So that you would have to do that research and look at the statistics. And there's a lot of research you can do, audience research, basically. Look at, with that age group, what kind of medium do they actually use? I think your younger generation watch a lot of video. They watch a lot of graphics, like, graphical stuff on the video, but also, the type of things I see young people watching nowadays is very short, snippets or, like, shorts, YouTube shorts, for example. So you don't want to make it long. You don't want to make it like a 5-minute video because you might lose their attention, right? So things like that. There's a lot of things we need to consider. But I appreciate your questions, Nicola. But let's go back to the color side because this whole presentation is around color um, and visual hierarchy. But your questions are valid, but I think they will come back. We'll come back to that towards the end of the presentation as well. So we'll cover that anyway. Okay, so visual hierarchy is when we're talking about really graphics. Okay, so if you're looking at graphics, the colors you want to choose, the type of, it could be an existing graphic that you want to use for your website, and then obviously that has its own colors, right? But then you could put a shade on that. So the key principles of design that designers use for visual hierarchy is basically they're looking at the size. Okay, they're looking at color and contrast. They're looking at the layout and position, typography. Okay, they're looking at spacing and proximity, imagery, and icons, alignment and movement. So all of these are important. So if we go through um, some of these, okay, just bear with me a second. Okay, so for example, if we think about size, right? So larger elements draw attention. Okay, if you want to grab somebody's attention with a header, you might want to increase the size of the header, right? So headlines are bigger than the body text because they're the most important thing. Okay, so when we're looking at color and contrast, bright or high contrast colors stand out more, okay, than muted tones. So it emphasizes the key points and the call to action. So sometimes you might see the button where you're supposed to click and pay, it's green, okay? So that's like a color that kind of emphasizes go, like carry on, it's okay, so you're trying to persuade somebody to click on that. Red means danger, don't click, warning, So color has its own language, so you have to think about the color contrast. Also layout and position. Okay, people naturally look at certain areas, for example, the top left, you'll have buttons at the top left and the top right. So, it's placed strategically so the eye movement goes from the top down, and I'll show you how that's done in the next slide, right? typography. Okay, so bold obviously grabs attention, like we've got bold writing on this slide even. So that kind of makes it as like the title. And then you've got subheadings that you might want to put in a different color and then still bold. Um, Spacing and proximity. Okay, that is very important because you can group information. Okay, so spacing obviously makes it clean, and you want information to be clean, but also you might want them to be grouped. Okay, imagery and icons. So icons you'll see sometimes being used with bullet points, just to kind of give a visual cue to what we're going to read about. Okay, you'll see ChatGPT use a lot of icons. Okay, and they're interesting how ChatGPT uses icons actually to basically give visual cues because it's a lot of text. So all of this is very important. Alignment and movement, it creates a clean, organized look where elements are connected to one another. Using elements like lines, for example, you can basically put it on the center, you can put it on the left, you can put it on the right, and sometimes it looks good, sometimes it doesn't, okay, depending on what you're creating. So let's look at one method of reading information. This is called a Z pattern or a Z pattern. Okay, so this is where people are reading from the top left, and then they go towards the middle right, and then move towards the bottom left, and then towards the um, bottom right. Okay, and it's a natural way of kind of reading information. Okay, but you got to think like, where does this come from? Because in some countries, some regions of the world, they may not read like that. Because Arabic, for example, is read the other way to English, right? So for them, it could be natural to read from the top right and then work in the other direction. So again, it's another consideration you got to make. Who is your audience? Which part of the world are they looking at your content from? You might be surprised and find that, your audience is actually based in the Middle East, right? And then you're gonna have to change some things on your website. It's very interesting stuff, when you think about it. And where are you gonna get that information? You're gonna get that from Google Analytics. You're gonna get that information from your analytics software on your social media to know where are they from, where are they, visiting my website from. So you may need to consider that. So that's one way of reading. Another way of reading is F pattern, and you'll see this on search engines. Like when you search for something, it's basically giving you an F pattern where information is kind of going from left to right. So web designers often use the F pattern on the pages with a lot of text and video. Usually, users typically read from left to right across the top of the page, then move down the left side, scanning for key information. Okay, so when something catches their attention, they read across again. This repeats until they reach the bottom of the page. So it's like reading a book, basically, but it's aligned towards the left. Now, so we got the F pattern, we got the Z pattern, and basically you can use both. Okay, so you can use both. You can use both the F and the Z and the F pattern on pages on the same website. So it's not like you have to stick to one on your website. Different pages could have different reasons for being like that. So the front page could be a Z pattern, okay, and then F pattern could be another page where you're listing products, okay. So I think it makes sense for a product listing to be an F pattern because you've got an image and you've got a little description and maybe a little a pay button. It just makes sense. For example, a homepage might be designed using a Z pattern to give users a quick overview of your company. Okay, because you just kind of looking at it from the left to the right, to the left to the right, and just going down, or right to the left. The way however you design it, it all depends on basically which part of the world they're coming from. I think it's Arabic is the only language I can think of that is in the other direction. I don't know. I haven't looked into whether there are other languages that are read in the other direction. but it's something that's
Hebrew.
I've Hebrew, yeah, that's right. So Hebrew as well, but it's still that region of the planet, isn't it? So yeah, it's interesting stuff. So this is something to consider. But also, if you look at design hierarchy, in design we use hierarchies to easily signpost some important sections for our users. This way, they can process information more efficiently or more effectively and achieve our goals on the website or app. We do this by adjusting headers, menus, and other elements based on what we know about user behavior and what we want the design to achieve. So user behavior, you can basically, study that, and that will take you into psychology, will take you into, customer behavior, take you into so many interesting pathways. But it's all about how people react to content, how people react to information, how people read information, and what they think about when they see certain things, what they relate with when they see certain things. So sometimes it's just life experience, certain images, certain text, certain visual cues. So you've got to consider all of these things, and it's a massive topic to get into. Okay, so what I want you to do now is basically just take 10 minutes. Okay, so plenty of time. I want you to use the internet, use Google, start browsing different websites, whichever website you like, but just go random on a rampage, like on the internet. Keep on browsing different things. So one link takes you to another. So spend 10 minutes doing that, just random browsing. But while you're doing that, I want you to think about what we just talked about, the Z pattern and the F pattern. Okay. So I wanted to look at how these websites are designed, how is the information laid out. Okay. So I'm gonna go and grab myself a cup of coffee because my coffee's gone cold. And while I do that, I want you to just browse the internet randomly. Okay. Because the reason I say random is because I don't want you to think, okay, I'll go to that website, because you might already be thinking, oh, I know that's a F pattern or that's a Z pattern. I don't want you to do that. I want you to just go random rampage on the internet and find different websites, but don't stick on one website because I don't want you to get hooked onto one website and spend 10 minutes on it. Just keep on moving every 1 minute, okay? And just see how they've displayed their content, okay? And just keep in mind that F pattern and the Z pattern, okay? And look at how and why they've done it like that. Okay, so 10 minutes, guys. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is use the chat and put some of the domain addresses that you've been finding, and just next to the domain address put whether they've used the F pattern or the Z pattern. If they've used both, then look at the home page, look at the other pages. Why have they used it? Why do you think they've used it? So if they use the F pattern, why have they used it? Are they listing products? Are they how they've laid the information out? So let me just have a read. Did you want to get the object? That's an interesting one. Japanese. Yep. Top to bottom. Right to left. Yep. LinkedIn, Facebook, F. So that's the F pattern on both. Okay, so Joy's saying most are F pattern. Loads of you posting in here now. Brilliant. Yes, there's a lot of F patterns, isn't it? I think the Z pattern is mainly on the home pages. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, well done, guys. Okay, so we know that these patterns now, whenever you look at a website, you'll be thinking about this. You'll be thinking about how they've laid out information, which is exactly what you should be doing as a designer, as a graphic designer. You should know this is how these pages are put together, and often it's basically because they're using templates, okay, and the templates are organized in that way, and they're just filling in information. Okay, brilliant. Okay, let me just put the thumbnails. So I like to see some of you guys while I'm delivering as well. So I'm just going to put thumbnails. Okay, right. So if we carry on now, I think we covered this bit. Let's go to the next slide. We've done this. Okay. So, sorry, somebody say something. Okay, so we've got an acronym. Crap. Contrast, repetition, alignment, proximity. Proximity. Okay, so we're going to cover each one of these now. So I'm just going to go back a second. These what we're going to talk about now, this helps marketers design the content so that it's easier to read, visually appealing, and more likely to convert. Okay, because at the end of the day, as a marketer, you're trying to make a sale at the end of everything. Okay, so we want people to convert into customers, convert into buyers, and that's the intention. So first, if we look at contrast, so contrast helps important elements stand out. This can be created through differences in color, size, font weight, shape, or spacing. Strong contrast guides the viewer's eyes to what matters the most. It's quite simple to understand. So you've got two images here. You can see the night grooves. It's in black in one, and it's in pink in the other. Which one stands out to you? Just looking at it, both of them. Ben, which one stands out to you?
I can't see the slides.
You can't see the slides?
Yeah, I saw them before, but I can't see them now.
Is that just Chloe or everyone?
No, I can see them.
Can't see them now.
Okay. I don't know what you can do, Chloe. If you try to, can you log out and log back in again and see if that helps?
Yeah, sure. One sec.
Yeah, I'll wait for you.
I think the first one stands out better.
Yeah,
I agree.
first one. Okay, thumbs up if you think the first one stands out better. The one on the left. Yeah. Okay, we've got lots of thumbs up on this one.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Is Chloe back?
Yeah, I can see them now.
Okay, good. So if anybody has problems seeing the slides, just log out and log back in again. Okay, that seems to solve the problem. Right, so the first one stands out better. Louise, did you say the first one stands out better?
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, because the grooves has got the pink behind it, and somehow it stands out, and so you're immediately kind of drawn to that.
Mm-hmm.
And the cassette with the green behind it, I just think that also makes that jump out the page.
Yep. Correct. I agree with you. However, where it says grooves in black,
Yeah.
I personally would probably try a lighter color on because it's got pink behind it.
Yeah.
Not night, but grooves on the first picture. I'll
Mhm.
probably try that in white.
Mm.
Maybe I'll try it, and if it doesn't look good, I'll go back to a darker. But again, it's about testing. Okay, so even though contrast wise it does stand out, within that image you would try different things, and because within that there's different elements that could be again changed, like the green. It could be that orange looks good or a different color looks good. So you try different things, but in general, contrast is to get attention. Okay, so it's basically your eyes are drawn to it. Okay, so contrast helps with elements, important elements of the image stand out. So that's the first one. The next one is repetition. Okay, so if you go to like a online course website or something, you'll see different courses, and it's almost like listed or put in a like a in a way where there's three at the top, then there's another three at the bottom, or could be nine, and it's like it's all laid out in that way. And this is repetition. Okay, it's the same size, the same place where you got the course title, the image is in the same place for every single one of them, and it's a repetition of the same pattern. And what that does, it creates consistency. So repeating the same colors, fonts, icons, shapes, or styles helps unify a design and strengthen the brand identity. It makes content feel more organized and intentional. Okay. So when you're creating something, think about the colors you're using and are those colors related to the brand identity? Because your logo may be a certain color, like LinkedIn, for example, is blue, right? So what the image you're seeing here, it says embed social. That could easily be in a LinkedIn learning platform with those colors, right? Because it relates to that kind of the branding, the blue. And a lot of learning education websites are blue because blue, again, it emphasizes professionalism and trust. Okay, so repetition is important to understand that if you're repeating a certain pattern, and with the F pattern, you'll see that it's repeating, but it's going downwards, like from top to bottom. So repetition is another thing we need to understand, and a lot of websites do use repetition. Alignment, okay? So if you look at those two images, one is aligned like all sorts of ways, like it's somewhere on the side, left side, then it's going in the middle, centrally aligned, and then it's towards the right. It looks very messy. It's a poor alignment, okay? The better layout is on the right-hand side, and that is, I think, it's an F pattern, okay, where everything is aligned to the left, okay? So again, it's how we see information, and it's a pattern that makes sense because you're not kind of jumping from one using multiple patterns. And a poor web designer would just kind of stick things everywhere and won't think about this. But alignment is important. When you're writing a letter, when you're creating a poster, you got to think about alignment of information. So alignment ensures that every element is visually connected. Nothing should appear randomly placed. Clean alignment makes designs easier to read and gives them a professional, structured look. Okay, so that's alignment. Proximity. Okay, so looking at these two images then, which one are you drawn to straight away?
Second one, I will say.
Second.
Second, yeah? We all agree?
The
Yeah.
second.
Natalia,
Yes.
do you agree?
Yes.
Yeah, second one.
Yeah, definitely the second one, isn't it? Why do you think that is? Do you think it's because of the image or what's
I think it's
My
the
opinion
vector.
is because it's not overloaded, it has better visual look.
Mhm.
And the first one, I think, is overloaded with text and is not attracting our attention at all.
Yeah,
That's correct.
I
Yeah.
look at it and I just see the block text and go, I'm not reading that.
Mm,
It's
exactly.
easier to read. It's easier to read because the text is aligned.
Yes. Yes. So
It's more
it's
structured.
it's structured because it's aligned. The image is like it's more relevant. Your eyes are drawn to it, but it's not distracted. It's not distracting, isn't it? So it's kind of it feels like it's in the background and it kind of blends in with the text as well because it's all wavy image and you've got the wavy text. It kind of almost like it blends in, right? The first one, your image is like it's as if like somebody's randomly put it there when it's not even supposed to be there. It's like it's even struggling to be there, right? There's hardly any space for it. Okay, and all that text is like, where do you start? Where do you finish? What is this information? It's just like randomly listed information. So proximity. If you look at the sides as well, the space on the sides of the text on the first one, and then look at the second one, yeah, it's organized better, right? So proximity groups related elements together. So we'll think about the second one now. Okay, items that belong together should be placed close to each other, while unrelated items should have space between them. Okay, this helps users quickly understand how information is organized. Again, it's how we process information. Where most of us won't even read all of it. We just look at it. On the second one, just look at it and you straight away it's a piano and I'll start thinking it's about music. And I'm right, it is about music. Chamber concert series. So you straight away know if you're interested in music, you'll read further. You look at the title. The title catches your eyes, then you look at the other information. And finally, you might look, okay, where do I go? And you look at that information right at the bottom. And that's probably an address and a website. Yeah. So it's leading you to that at the end. So it's better organized information. Okay, so we'll carry on. Creative freedom and visual design. So design has no strict rules. I know we're talking about different things, like how it should be, how it looks better and stuff, but it's creativity. And if you put rules on creativity, then you're restricting yourself in a way, right? So design has no strict rules. Effective visuals often come from experimenting with space. I can hear myself echo for some reason now. If everybody puts themselves on mute, okay, and you just unmute yourself when you need to talk, okay, and then we won't get that echo. So don't be afraid to use plenty of blank space. Even if it's blank, it doesn't mean you have to fill it in, okay? So blank space also has a language. It's saying something. It's giving you space. It's making it look clean, okay? So blank space isn't always a bad thing. It can make your design feel cleaner and more impactful. Embrace asymmetry. It often creates stronger, more interesting layouts and allows for unexpected visual moments. So everything doesn't have to be kind of, like in the same place or kind of in a row or, it can be placed at different places, but you have to just take a step back and look at it and think, does it look good, right? If it looks good to you, great. Get some feedback from somebody else. Okay? Because often, you might have an idea. Okay, you might think, okay, this looks amazing, but for the next person, it may not look great. But think about art as well. Like some art you look at and you think, is this art really? I mean, contemporary art, like somebody randomly kind of dropping a paint bucket on a on a canvas on the floor, right? And it just creates something randomly. Is it art? Well, it is if it's appreciated, right? So other people will have other ideas and other, when they look at something, they'll get different messages, and it's interesting to get that feedback of how other people view your design. So feedback is important. So experiment with size, text size, very large or very small wording can be effective when used with purpose. Use bold or minimal graphics confidently, as long as they support and enhance your overall design or message. I've often found that, using two or three colors, okay, that are connected to your brand really works. If you go overboard with like different colors, then you're losing the brand colors. So you stick with the brand colors. So if your brand is blue, like as in the logo, for example, let's say take NHS, right? NHS has a very strict branding guidelines because I've worked with them 5 years. I know they're very, very strict about you can't even like the NHS logo, it's just the NHS, right? But it has a specific blue that they use, and you can't even change that blue, right? If you have a different contrast from the blue, you change the shade or anything, they're not going to use it in any of their documentation. Same with the BBC and same with majority of the companies out there. They have very strict branding guidelines. So when it comes to websites and other information, they will have other colors that you can use, but very strict on that because somebody somewhere at some point in the history of that company has sat down and thought about it and decided that this is how we're going to do things. Okay. So when you're designing for someone else, a client, it's important to understand what their branding guidelines is as well. You can't randomly go, oh, I love purple, I'm going to put some purple on there. You can't do that sometimes. Okay. Sometimes you got to understand what the client needs. Right. So there is that. The reason I mention this is even though it says design has no strict rules, in yours in reality there may be some rules depending on if you're creating for a client. Okay, they may give you some guidelines to follow. Okay, so it all depends. Okay, so what I want you to do now is just think about what we've just covered. Okay, the contrast, the repetition, the alignment. Okay, so think about these and proximity. Think about these, and I want you to explore again different websites, but go to Google Images this time. Okay, so you can go to Google and then click on images and look at all the images that you find, right? And look at alignment of text, look at the proximity, look at the repetition, okay? But also you can look at websites. You don't have to stick to images. Google Images is good in one way because it brings up different images, and then you got the link as well that will take you to the website where that image is living, right? So just spend a few minutes just kind of looking around, and then use Zoom again on the chat to type in anything that you find that's interesting. Like maybe a website is not using alignment properly, or not using proximity properly, or it could be repetition is used and why is it used. Okay, just have a think about that for a few minutes. And if you've got anything interesting, type it into the chat in Zoom. Any questions, anybody at this point? Okay. So I'm just going to go to the chat, see what you guys are doing. Okay, the objective slide again. Okay, so let me bring up the objective slide. 1 second. Joy, is this what you wanted?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Thank
Okay.
you.
Can I move away from it now?
Yes.
Okay.
One moment, please.
Okay. No worries. Done?
Yes, thank you very much.
No worries. Okay, so we've got some text. Okay. Rumors online uses repetition and alignment. It has a strong contrast and uses brown color throughout. Well done. Well done, Holly. So I'll give you another minute, see if anybody else wants to kind of type anything in. Good thing about typing into the chat is everybody gets to read it and learn from it as well. So share your experience, share whatever you find. Misguided uses pink, uses the same pink and white throughout the website and campaigns. Website is very image heavy, strong visuals and minimal text. Cool, that's very good. NBC News and BBC News have a really good contrast on the page. Very good. Okay. So now we're thinking about contrast, we're thinking about alignment, we're thinking about proximity, we're thinking about all of these things, which is probably something that we didn't even think about before, like when we looked at websites. So now you're thinking like a designer, you're thinking like a graphic designer now. Okay. Amazon is overloaded with images and information and makes you want to search for stuff and get out. Yeah. It's good that you're thinking about why they're doing it as well, like what the experience, the feeling. Amazon is overloaded with images. It's like you're in a shopping mall, isn't it? So that's the feeling they want you to get. They literally want you to buy something. So they're gonna, in a shopping mall, if you go to a shopping mall, if there's only a few products there, it's not a shopping mall. So Amazon is your online shopping mall. It's literally going to be flooded with images and discounts and all sorts of stuff. You're gonna, bare minimum, you're gonna add something to your cart, even if you don't buy it. Okay. Very good. All right. So let me go back into presentation. So what we're going to do now is go into color theory. Okay, so we talked about really the layouts of information, how information is displayed, right? But we haven't talked about color itself. So we're going to go deep into that now. So what is color theory? Color theory is a set of principles used to understand how color works, how colors work together, and how they affect the way we feel, think, and respond to visual designs. Okay? It helps designers choose color combinations that communicate with the right message, create harmony, and guide attention. So designers don't randomly just pick any color, they use color theory. There's a reason why they're using certain colors. Okay? So Coca-Cola uses red, Amazon uses orange, Android you can think of green because you've got the droid that's green, Facebook blue. So all of them have their brand colors and they probably have some kind of reason for that. Even the logos, there's a reason why it's created in a certain way. Android looks like it's robotic text. Coca-Cola has always been like this kind of. It must have some history around the text, the way it's written. But I know for a fact that Santa Claus being red was an invention of Coca-Cola, So red is that kind of warmth, and it was wintertime, drink it to kind of feel warm. It was actually, I think, found in chemists, Coca-Cola. It was seen as medicine at some point in the old Olden days. Amazon, you've got that arrow going from A to Z. So it's literally somebody said that you've got all these images on Amazon. It's like, it's just bombarded with images. It's basically got everything on there, A to Z. That's why they put the arrow from A to Z, okay, in their logo. So you can see how language is in the logo, it's also in the color. Okay, so when we talk about color, color plays a vital role in the graphic communication because it helps convey meaning quickly and clearly. The colors you choose can make a design appear more realistic by adding depth, dimension, and a sense of life to an image or layout. Color also shapes the emotional tone of a design. Different colors can create specific moods or feelings, such as calmness, excitement, trust, or urgency, which directly influences how the audience responds to the message. So yesterday, in one of the sessions, I was talking about how red is related to food and heat, like warmth. It's a warmth color, isn't it? Because fire is red and orange and all sorts of. That's how we see fire, although it's like, I don't know, fire could be different colors. It could be even blue, right? But when we're looking at images of fire, usually we see red as like an icon of fire. You'll see it as red, and it's heat. So KFC, McDonald's, Peri Peri chicken, or wherever you go in the high street and look at um, food restaurants, takeaways, they'll usually use something like yellow or red. Not all, but majority do use those colors if they understand the color theory. Okay, so it brings that idea of warmth. But there's other colors as well, and we're going to explore all the colors, but we need to start from primary colors. So the primary colors are red, blue, and yellow. These are the primary colors. Okay, and then you've got secondary colors, violet, green, and orange. Okay, so basically red, blue, and yellow, using these, mixing these, you can create every other color. Okay, so when you mix red, which is a primary color, you mix that with another color, which is another primary, like yellow, you get orange, which is a secondary color. Okay, so this is how these colors are formed, and then you get your palette. So if you look at the next diagram, so this one goes to the tertiary colors. So, oh, my screen just went funny then. Okay, so sorry, my screen went blank for some reason. Okay, so if you look at the top colors here, red plus orange, and it gives that deeper orange, right? So it's giving you a different color, and this is the third color in the color stages, right? And then you've got yellow and you've got green. You mix that, you get a light green. You've got a blue violet. You mix that and you get another shade. So you've got tertiary colors is the color created by mixing a primary with a secondary. Okay, and it sits next to each other on the color wheel. So when we look at, there's a better image there that will explain it actually, this one. Okay, so here you can see in the middle, that triangle is got the primary colors, right? Red, blue, yellow. Mixing the red and the yellow, you're getting the orange, the secondary. Mixing the red and the blue, you're getting this color, the violet. And then when you mix that one with another one that's on the color wheel, you're getting a different color, which is a third color. Okay, so this is how these colors are kind of formed, all from the primary. Okay, so color theory is interesting. Again, if you're if you've ever painted, you probably mix colors. Okay, and it's just important to understand there's primary colors, and from that you get the secondary colors, and then mixing the primary and secondary, you get tertiary color. That's all you need to know for now, okay? Because when you are, I mean, if you're a painter and you're putting a brush to a canvas in reality, then you will mix these colors on your physical palette, right? But in the digital world, you're not going to be mixing them physically, but what you will do is you'll have a whole palette of colors, and some will be primary, some will be secondary, some will be tertiary. So it's good to just know which is which, but all the colors will have a code, okay? They will have a code, and when you're a designer, you can use the code in the in the actual graphics, okay? So I'll try and find somewhere where it's actually where you need to input the code. So every color has a code, and that code is used in the programming, but also graphic softwares, you may have to put the code in, or you might have to select a color. Either way, you're gonna find the color that you need. So we're gonna go through these now: hue, shade, tint, and tone. I'm sure you've come across these before, but you probably didn't think too deep into it. Okay. So hue is simply the pure color. Okay, so it's the pure color on the color wheel. So it could be the primary, it could be the secondary, it could be the tertiary, whatever color it is. It's just the pure color. Okay, that's the hue. So if you're changing the hue, you're changing. It could be a filter that you're putting on. Like if you're using TikTok and you're going through the hue, it's probably a filter, but it's a pure color that you're putting on as a filter. Okay, so all you need to understand here is basically a pure color. So a hue is simply the pure color on the color wheel, the basic underlying color without any added white, black, or gray. Now, when we talk about shade, okay, this is where it's a little bit different. It's richer, darker, deeper, more intense, okay? And the reason for that is black is added to the hue. So your original color, you add a bit of black to it, it makes it darker, richer, depth is there. It's more intense, okay? So shades are often used to create contrast. So, you know, when we talked about contrast, some of you in the chat said, oh, BBC has a lot of contrast. You know, it's a bit darker than the original color. Okay, they put a little dark tint on it. So if you want something more intense, you put a dark shade to it. So the word shade, we use it all the time. But think about shade, as in the shades you wear. It's a dark, it's black added to the glasses, isn't it? That gives you that intense depth with your glasses. So that's why you call it shades. So shades are often used to create contrast, depth, and mood in design. Okay, so when you want to design something and you want to add depth, you want to add a mood, you might add some black to the color. And nowadays you'll get filters that you can put on, okay? So you don't have to change the original color, you just add a filter. Then you have tint. Okay, so I'm just getting a bit of background noise. If you put yourself on mute. Miriam, you got your hand up?
Oh, can I just ask, is shade only related to dark? Because like sometimes, you know, with red, people say, oh, pink is a shade of red, but pink is lighter than red. So is shade only dark?
Yeah, so when we're talking about color theory and we're reading it, like we're trying to understand what these words actually mean in color theory, it is black added to a primary color or a secondary or tertiary color. But when we talk, often the people who talk don't have that color theory knowledge, and we just, as a language, we just say shade, or we kind of mix and match different words, you know? We probably don't even know what it means exactly, but we just say it, right? So don't get confused with what you've heard people say, because often it's like, oh, that's a nice tint or that's a nice shade, but we don't even know the difference between the two, right? So
Yeah.
whatever you're learning today is exactly what it is, right? So even for me, it's like I might in 6 months' time I might use a word and I actually used it very loosely. Okay? So sometimes we use certain words loosely, but this is the definition of it. This is exactly what it is. So shade is when you add a bit of black to a primary, tertiary, secondary or tertiary color. And then tint is a variation of a color created by adding white to a hue. So remember, hue is the original color. So if you added a bit of white to it, like in this image, look, they've added a little bit of white to it, and then you're getting a brighter color, aren't you? So tint is commonly sorry, I got a bit of a cold, so my words aren't coming out right. Tints are commonly used to create calm, airy, or gentle designs. So you're creating something and you're thinking the mood I want to let out with my graphics, the way I want my audience to feel is calm, airy, a gentle. I want to create a gentle design. It could be that it's about something that you're creating for summer, you know? So you might add a tint to it, but it's giving it that kind of brightness, slight brightness. And then you got the tone, okay? And that's when you add gray to a color. So primary, secondary, tertiary color, when you add gray, you're giving it a tone. A tone is a variation of a color created by adding gray, a mix of black and white, basically gray. Okay, so when you mix black and white, you get gray. And when you add the gray to a hue, you get a tone, a different tone. And this is a softer, more muted, less intense, more subtle, and sophisticated color. Okay, so tones are often used in professional, modern, or understated designs because they reduce the brightness of a color without making it dark. Okay, so what I've seen is like purple, blue, violet. Those colors are used professionally, like on websites. A lot of technology websites use those colors and they use a tone on it. They add a bit of gray to it. You won't actually see, you'll see the color, but you won't even think about, oh, they added a gray because all you're seeing is that color. But the way that color is formed is there's some gray to it. Okay. If you're like physically mixing colors, then this makes sense because you have all these colors and then you want to add a tone. How do you do that? Because you haven't got software to do that. You can't add a filter to your painting, can you? So how you would add tone is you'd mix black with white to get gray, and you'd add the gray paint to your primary color, and then that would give you that tone. So this is how painters would use the tone, how they would add tint, how they would add the shade. But it's important for us to know how all this works. But in reality, when you're using Canva or using any other software, the tones, the different tones, the shades might be there as filters. They might be there as other colors that are already created for you. Okay? Hopefully that makes sense. So designers use combinations of colors to create different effects and evoke a variety of feelings. So you can see these images here. So they look like they've got filters on, okay? And most of them have. I can see that one on the right hand side there definitely has a filter on. But it, with a trained eye, somebody who's seen a lot of pictures with filters on would be able to tell that one has. But the top one definitely has a filter on because that looks like a leaf, okay? Zoomed in leaf with some drops on it, drops of water on it. But that leaf looks a bit kind of turquoise than green, okay? So it's a filter. And then the other one on the left-hand side is kind of all the boxes are pink, but you can almost tell there's a pink filter over the two people as well, okay? So whatever reason they're putting these filters on, if they're a good designer, they would have something in their mind like, this is what I want them to feel, okay? They're thinking about emotions, okay? So color is often used with emotions, to evoke emotions. Warm colors versus cool colors. So on the left-hand side, you've got red, orange, yellow, okay? So these are warm colors. A warm color is a color that sits on the warm side of the color wheel and gives a sense of heat, energy, vibrancy. So when you're designing something, if you're designing a website for a restaurant, you probably move towards the warm colors because you don't want people to feel cold when they're thinking about hot food. Warmth is, comforting. It's a place where you want to go and see like hot food and warmth and cozy feeling, right? But then you've got violet, green, and blue, which are cold colors or cool colors, okay? And they're on the cool side of the color wheel. And they create a sense of calm, relaxation, or professionalism. So, professionalism, LinkedIn falls on the cool color side, doesn't it? I mean, they could have easily, created the branding on the warm color side, but then it doesn't speak anything. Like it doesn't talk to you. The color doesn't speak the right language. Okay, blue. Facebook is blue. NHS is blue. The police are blue because it also gives you the feeling of calm, relaxation. Like relax, we'll take care of you. Relax, we're here to protect you. That trust feeling. Okay, so there's different reasons why they're on the cool part of the wheel. It's not just because it's professionalism. It could be they're trying to calm you down with that color, give you a sense of peace. Green is also on the cool side because green is actually a calming, soothing color. Nature's green. If you take a break from your screen every a couple of hours, you should take a break to relax your eyes. You should look at something green. Okay, it's comforting. It's soothing. Okay, rather than looking at warm colors, look at something green. Go for a walk. Okay, enjoy the nature. So that calm relaxation is on that side of it. So this is warm versus cool colors. It's something to think about. Color and mood. Okay, colors have a strong psychological impact, which means they can influence how people feel, think, and respond when they see a design. This connection between colors and emotions is known as color psychology. Okay, so you've got some pictures there. You can see some of them are straight away. I'm thinking summer, like those butterflies. I'm thinking summer. The other one, obviously, I'm thinking autumn. Then I'm thinking winter, for the bottom one, and the other one I'm thinking winter as well. But nowhere does it mention anything about seasons. Okay, nowhere does it mention anything about feeling cold or hot or anything. But straight away, looking at these images, you get that feeling. Okay, and the artist probably wanted you to feel that. Okay, so they're going to do that with colors. So colors and emotional response. Different colors naturally evoke certain feelings. Red can create excitement, urgency, or passion. Blue can often make you feel calm, trustworthy, and professional. And then yellow feels cheerful and energizing. Marketers use these emotional cues to shape how an audience reacts to content. Okay. So what I want you to do now is just go on a couple of websites like you've done before, but pay attention to the colors they're using and think about if they're using red, are they using it to create excitement, urgency, or passion? Is there a reason why they're using red? Are they using blue? If they're using blue, then there's a reason behind that? Calming, trustworthy, professional. Does it actually make sense? Like what I'm saying to you right now, is this true? Okay. Or do you find information that's conflicting? Like, are you finding restaurants that's using blue? If they are, why? Like, I can think of restaurants that I've seen as blue with the logo and everything, but I can think of fish and chip shops, okay, that I've seen in blue. And there's a reason behind that because they're making you think about the ocean. Yeah. So color language is always there, it's around us. But if we think deeply into it, it makes sense, unless they haven't thought about it. Okay, and they just randomly put it there, and it's not helping their brand. Okay, so I'm going to give you 5 minutes just to have another browse and see if you can, with the knowledge that you've gained about color theory, if you can spot certain things that are interesting, and then type it into the Zoom as well in the chat. Okay, so 5 minutes for you. Okay, we're going to carry on now, guys. So, next one, colors and tone atmosphere. Okay, so the overall color palette of a design creates mood. Okay, a design with soft pastels feels gentle or calming, bold, bright colors feel energetic or youthful, and dark tones feel serious, dramatic, or luxurious. Okay, so think about gentle calming. Okay, so gentle calming, you've looked at different websites. Some of them are gentle and calming, airy. Maybe it's like they're selling something that is going to make you feel relaxed. Maybe a cup of coffee. I don't know what it is that their product could be, but they could use something that is basically soft. Okay, when it comes to the color, bold, bright colors feel energetic and youthful. Okay, so if he's trying to give you like, a boost of energy, making you feel excited, it could be that they're advertising a holiday. Dark tones feel serious, dramatic, or luxurious. So think about advertising a movie, Batman or something like that. It'll be dark. The tones will be dark. If it's cinematic, if it's dramatic, if it's a luxurious watch, for example, they'll use darker colors, right? Maybe a bit of gold and black at the same time. It's communicating the personality of the brand. Okay. So Rolex, I think it uses gold and green. Okay. So it's using that calmness, but it's also using that luxurious kind of gold as well. But it's interesting stuff, and you can look into, you can do research into it. You can use ChatGPT if you like and ask ChatGPT, say, why does Rolex use green and gold? What's the reason behind that? What's the history behind that? And you might be interestingly surprised that they have some history around the colors, right? But in general, when you're designing something, you need to think about what the colors mean. Okay, what the colors mean. If it's not personal to a brand, then because sometimes it could be personal to a brand. A certain color could have a historic connection. Okay, so I need to think about that. Okay, carrying on, color and behavior. Because colors influence mood, they can also affect action. Okay, because obviously it's great making people feel in a certain way, but if they're not taking action, what's the point? Okay, so as a marketer, you want people to do something, right? Okay, so a calming blue might help build trust on a website. So we've seen, websites that are blue, logos that are blue. Again, I'll take the example of NHS or the police, for example. Um, the calming blue, and it's basically to build trust. Okay. Um, do you go there and trust everything you see on the NHS or police website? No, but it gives you a sense of authority. It gives you a sense that okay, this is professional, and they're going to take care of me. Okay, It- we every country is different. Their health systems are different. Their police force is different. Some police forces may be brutal. Okay, they could be associated with violence. Okay, um, but it doesn't mean they're going to use heavy colors. They're not going to put red on their website because they're it's still going to be blue because they still want you to trust them, right? So it's not about how the company is in reality, it's how the company wants to portray themselves. That's important to understand as well. Okay, there's no guarantee that you can actually trust that company just because it's putting blue out there. It's what they want to portray. Okay, just because a restaurant puts red on their logo and red on their branding, it doesn't mean you're going to go there and actually find hot food. It may not go according to plan, it could be totally different. But sometimes these restaurants, what they do is they copy other restaurants. So because most branding is red and orange and yellow, they're basically doing the same, but they don't understand the language behind it. So the behavior it's not always the same. Okay, so sometimes you can trust a website because it's blue, but it's not something that you're going to think about. You're not going to go to a website and think, oh, it's blue, so I can trust it, right? It's in the subconscious, okay? And it's not going to work for everybody. Everybody thinks different, okay? But as a designer, it makes sense for us, okay? As a designer, it makes sense. We need to stick to it. There's always, yes, but it's not going to work like this. It's not going to work like that. People are going to react to it differently. That's why we need feedback from customers as well. When you design something, get feedback. How does it make you feel? I've created this website. How does it make you feel? What comes to mind? Can you just jot down a few words that comes to mind? It's important to get that feedback from people, and then think about your brand identity. Think about your vision. Think about your mission statement. Think about, your values. Does it align with that? How you making people feel? The behavior you're getting from your audience. Are you aligning that with the values that you hold? Okay. If one of your values is trust, and your branding is blue, is your customer, client, audience, are they saying, oh, it makes me feel that I can trust, probably they won't say that, but it makes me feel relaxed, it makes me feel calm, it makes me feel at ease, then that's kind of trust, isn't it? Okay. So it's important to understand that, and I think that comes from feedback. So what's your color? Okay. So I'm going to give you an activity. Just bear with me a second. Okay. We're going to go into Canva. Okay. Before I go into Canva, I'm just going to see something. Okay. It's 11 o'clock. I think it's a good time for a little break. Okay. The reason I say that is because we're going to go into Canva. I'm going to show you around Canva and basically help you out with some graphics and animation there. But then I've only got 4 or 5 slides after that, okay? And I think we can cover that within the hour. So I'll give you a little break now. So if you want to grab another cup of coffee or get some fresh air, this is a good time to do it, okay? So it's 11 o'clock. If you want to come back for 10 past, okay? See you in 10 minutes. Okay, so let's continue then. Just bear with me. Bring up the screen. Right, can everybody see Canva now on your screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so if you use the chat and just let me know if you've used Canva before, okay? So yes if you have, and no if you haven't. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so majority have used it before. Okay, that's good. But 1 or 2 haven't. Some have used it a little. That's all right. That's good. Okay, so some of the stuff I go through you probably already know, but I'm just going to go through a couple of things here. Okay, so when you open up Canva, if you click on create, what you'll see is basically this window here. Everybody can see this, yeah? You can see what I'm showing, create a design. You still see Canva on your screen? Yep, okay. So on the left-hand side here, you've got all the options. I mean, it's not complicated, Canva. It's well designed and it's well put together. So on the left-hand side, you've got all the different things that you can create. Okay, so the first thing I did was click on create, and then this pop-up came up. On the left-hand side, you've got presentation, social media, and so on. And now, depending on what you want to create, you can basically select from here, okay? But also, you've got these options here, okay? So it's the same as like clicking on something here, but it's more kind of like, for example, the size of the post is there already, so you don't have to worry about the size. So if you want to create a LinkedIn post, you would click on that one. If you want to create an Instagram post, you create on that one because the sizes are there, okay? So if we go, say, if we go into a TikTok video, for example, we'll click on TikTok video. Just wait a few seconds for it to load. What it's done is basically given us the template here, which is blank, okay? But it's brought up a window here where we can see all these templates. So this is a blank template with the right size, and you've got lots of templates here. Now, personally, I think the best way to get started with Canva and do a professional job is understand the way everything works by using a template. So find a template, look at all these templates. Say we want to create something to do with Christmas, right? So we want to promote a product in Christmas. What you can do is you can type up here Christmas, and then you'll get all the templates around Christmas. Okay, where you see the little play symbol, these are videos. Okay, so majority are videos here. If any don't have that symbol, it might be just an image, but all of these seem to be videos. So all of them have animation in there already. Okay, so there's different ones that got animation. So if you look at, say, this one and you think, okay, I like that the snow falling in the background. This is something I like, and the fact that it's moving. If I click on that one, it'll bring it into here. I can click on that arrow to take that away and just click away from it. I've got my animation now, and I've got a timeline at the bottom. So this timeline you can expand. So if you just hover over this edge, you'll get this double arrow symbol there. Left click down and you can drag it. But when you drag it, this goes a bit smaller, so just be aware. Now you can see all the different elements that make up this animation. If you play it here, it'll play through, and you can see that moving image, right? Now here, it's made up of this text. Okay, so if I click on that one, it will highlight where that text is. So it's the website here. So you can edit it directly from here and change it into your website address. Or you can remove it. If you don't want that there, you can just click on delete and it will remove that. Okay, you can also lock it in place. So if you don't want, like if you're, changing things and you don't want that to move from here, you can lock it. I think it's already locked. So it's showing the unlock position. So now it's unlocked. Now I can move that around. I can just drag it and move it around. And click on it. I can move it. Actually, it's locked now. I need to click on it, unlock it. Now I can move it. Right, now it's locked. Okay, there it is. Now it's unlocked and I can move it. So if you don't want something to move while you're changing things around, you can lock it. The important thing to understand is that it's all layers. Okay, so this text is sitting on top of the image in the background. That is also on a layer. Everything is on a layer, so it's on top of each other. So physically, in the physical world, if you were creating something, it's like putting a blank piece of paper on top of your desk, then putting an image of snow on top of that. Then on top of that, you're putting the text. So you're layering it on top of each other. And that's what you're seeing here. You're seeing the different layers. And the top layer is right at the top is here. You've got that website address. That is at the top. Then it's this one. If you click on this one, okay, it's the animation. That animation there. Okay. Now, if you look above here, it says animate. Okay, so it's an animation that's basically brought in. If you click on that, it will bring up the animation that's used. Okay, and you can adjust it. You can adjust the speed, the direction, everything else. Okay, so if I increase the speed, okay, so I don't know what's changed there, but okay, I'm not sure if that's changing anything. Oh, it's that hat. The hat is the animation, okay, not the snow. So if I change the speed, it's the speed at which it comes up. So it came up really quickly. I want that to be slow. So can you see it's kind of transitioning in slowly? So it's that animation there. And it's moving upwards, isn't it? The hat is moving upwards until it gets to that position. So the direction is up, okay? And on enter. So as soon as you enter this image or this ad, that will start playing and it will start rising. So you rise and it's in that direction, okay? And that's what it is. And it's just an image. It's just an image. So you basically imported an image of a hat, clicked on animate, and you've clicked on rise and then put the direction. Okay, that's all that's been done to animate that hat. It's just an image, and then it's basically layer wise. If you want to, like, if that was under Merry Christmas, if it was under Merry, then it won't look like it's sitting on top. So let me just reduce that. And you can also zoom in here, look. Okay, so the zoom is at the bottom here. So if you zoom in, you can see it looks like the Y is wearing the hat because the hat is on top of the Y, if that makes sense. But if it was behind that layer, okay, so if it was behind the text, it's not going to look the same. So if I go right click, so I've selected that. So when you select with the left click mouse. I don't want you to feel like I'm teaching to suck eggs, but on your mouse, left click is basically to select. But then when you do a right click, it's the context menu, isn't it? And when you go down here, you can see layers. Okay. I can't quite see what's there because of zoom, but let me move you guys over here. So if you go layers, and then it says send backward or send to back, because that's it at the top. That's sitting on top of the Y. So when you go layer and you go send to back, now it's behind the Y. Can you see? But it doesn't look right because we want it to look as if the hat is being worn by the Y. So we want to bring it to the front. So you need to select it. It's a bit tedious trying to select it now because you've got other layers there. But if you want to go undo, you can do that, and that will put it back on top. Okay, so now it's on top. So all you've done is put the layer, the hat, above the layer of the Merry. Okay, and now it looks like it's wearing it. Louise, you got your hand up?
Yeah, sorry, I almost forgot the question. I just wondered, is this a free? Can you
Yeah, it's free until a certain extent. Like certain things you may have to, purchase to get access to, but a lot of the stuff you can do for free. So have a try and see what you can get away with for free.
Can I ask how did you get into these TikTok videos? What's
Okay.
the menu?
Okay, so let's go. The other thing it does, it opens in a different window. Okay, so you can see. Are you guys still seeing Canva on your screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can see it's opened in a different window, right? So you can always go back to the previous window and you'll see this, okay? And if you close that, this is the way you would appear, like this is what you will enter Canva with, okay? So all projects where you can search, you'll see all your projects here, and then you can create. The first thing I would do personally would click on create. That's a good start. Soon as you do that, this pops up, which gives you direction on what you're going to do. So you want to create something. That's why you're in Canva. When you're in Canva, then you basically click on create button without thinking about anything else. Because if you look at this, it looks quite, obviously, like if you've opened a new account, you're not going to have all of this. So you look a bit cleaner. But the first thing you can do is you can go to home. Okay. You can also go to projects if you've got projects already. Okay, so you'll see your projects in there. You can also go into templates, the brands, and all sorts, right? But I personally, if you're a beginner, you would click on that, create, and then it will direct you towards what you want to do. Okay. If you've already worked on a project and it's already there, then obviously you click on projects. So what I did was I clicked on create, then on here it says create new. Under here, there's basically all the different templates for different social platforms. LinkedIn, Instagram, presentation, email. So you would scroll across to find, or you can drag, you can't drag, you have to scroll. So you have to scroll to find the TikTok one here. Okay. So that TikTok video there, that one. Okay, so this is what I did. But I'm demonstrating with the TikTok video, but you can also create your logo 500 by 500 pixel. Then you've got business card, landscape, and I think they've also, like, if you create a business card, they've also got, I think Vistaprint or something they've got partnership with, so you can actually make the order as well to order the business cards straight from Canva. But do look at other competitors with the pricing because I think it is expensive at the same time. But yeah, if we wanted to create Instagram story, it's all there. All the templates are there. So if you don't use the right size, then it can cause some issues. So make sure you use it from here. And then you've got also quick actions, but these are all kind of custom to what you've been doing previously. Okay, so what we did was we clicked here, but we can also click on presentation, social media. As a digital marketer, you might be doing all sorts, right? But they're all here. Like if you want to create a website, you can also create a website from Canva. Okay, but we're focused for this unit, for this session, we're focused on graphics and animation, which is why I'm basically showing you this, which I've already opened in this window, so I'll go back in there. Now, you're learning it for TikTok, but it's the same for Instagram. It's the same for a poster. If you want to animate and create a digital poster, it's the same. The main thing that I'm trying to get through to you is everything's in a layer on top of each other. Okay, so if you understand that, it'll be a lot easier because what I'm demonstrating here is that hat is on a layer, Mary is on a layer, Wishing You is on a layer, that image behind is on a layer, and that is also on a layer. Every one of them is on a layer, but which one is on top of which? If you look at this, you can see each one of these is a layer on the timeline. Okay, so animation is there, but on top of that is this. Okay, if I wanted to drag this text from here to a different layer, I can. If I put it under that image, it will disappear because it'll be behind that image. So I want it right at the top. Okay, that's fine. Merry Christmas. That's all good. That, because I've moved, can you see my little, if I move this across, now that it's past the hat, basically in the animation timeline, if I just reduce that, in the animation timeline, this is the timeline, it's past where the hat is. Okay, so if I go back, you can see it's 0 seconds, right? 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. That's your video. If I play it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's going to 10 seconds. And basically, when it gets to about 3 seconds or 2.6 seconds, that's when the hat finishes. Okay, when I get to that. So you can see if I play it, 2.6 seconds in, the hat disappears. Okay, so if I wanted that to continue and stay there, what I would do is I would go and select it, hover over the edge at the end, left click down, and I'd drag it across right to the end. Okay, so now what's going to happen is if I play it from here, the hat's staying, which makes more sense. It doesn't suddenly randomly disappear. Okay, and that's your video. If you have more on the end, the video will get longer. Because all of the animation, the text, and everything stops at the same point in time, that's where your animation stops. The video stops. So when you download it or share it, it's going to stop at that point in those number of seconds, okay, wherever that is. So that is about 5 seconds. So it's 5 seconds long. If you wanted it to make it 10 seconds long, you can basically left click and drag it all the way to 10 seconds. So that's your timeline and how you would do it. But also you got this plus sign. If you click on that, you can upload video, audio, text. You can get stock videos, stock photos, and add it on top of that. And basically what would happen is you would reach the end and then it would play your video or whatever you add on the end. Okay? So the main thing to understand is each one is put on as a layer. Okay? And that'll make it a lot easier for you to work on. And then if you want to animate something, say I wanted to animate that text, the domain address, reallyGreatSite.com. If I wanted to animate that, what would I do? Does anybody know? Anyone have an idea?
Animate the whole thing.
Just this reallyGreatSite.com. If I want to animate that, what would I do?
You right mouse click on.
Yeah, so I'd click on it and then I'd go over to animate. Okay, so basically because you've clicked on that and you clicked on animate, anything to do with here, anything you do here is to do with that. So if I clicked on Rise, can you see it just went from bottom up? Okay, so I can reduce the speed. You see it's suddenly rising?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know if you can see that, but if I go down like this, just watch it now. Okay, so it's not that clear, but if I go back again, I mean, I did this, it's not ideal, this, but it's just to demonstrate. And you see it's like suddenly appearing and rising up. Before it was static, yeah? So
Yeah.
I've animated it. If I didn't like that animation, what do? I just click on animate again. And that menu comes up. And I don't want that, right? So basically I take that away. Now what you can do is well, there's a remove animation here, so that will remove all the animation, right? But also if you can't find something, remember you can always undo. Okay, so now it'll just stay there static, it's not going to animate. Okay, so that's one demo that I'm just showing you how to do the animation here. But have a go, like open yourself an account and then basically go to create and play around with these animations. Where it would stop you, like if you've got a free account, where it would stop you is when you're trying to download. So if I wanted to download this, I click on share and there's a download button. Now, if some content you can actually download for free, okay? But if you're using specific premium elements in your animation, then it may say, oh, you're using this animation, that animation, which is premium. You're going to have, if to download, you're going to have to upgrade or whatever, right? If you think it's worth it, then obviously that's fine. But you can also take away the elements that are premium, okay? So where are the elements? They're here. If you click on elements, you'll see all the elements here. So the audio, there's lots of audio, video, photos, graphics, 3D, objects, stickers, all sorts of stuff. Some of them are free, some of them are premium. If you pay for it, then you get access to everything. But there is a lot you can do for free as well. So if I go into, say, let's see, if I go into photos, for example, okay, now I've got loads of photos here that I can use. On a free account, you'll have lots of photos that are available for free, okay? So you can still use photos, but some of them might be, like premium, okay? This is not a free account, so I can't show you the difference. But like I say, there is a lot of stuff that you can do for free. But yeah, as a designer, if you're a graphic designer, then your company may give you Canva, or you may invest in Canva and just use it. And I think it's very user friendly. It makes it really easy for anybody to do professional graphics. And I suggest that you start from a template. So that was a Christmassy one, and it does look it, although it's okay, it's not. I mean, it is professional for what it is. It's just it's Christmas. It's supposed to be like this. But if we wanted to create something for your brand, like if we go, remember these open up in a new window, so we can close that down now. We can before we typed in Christmas here, right? But can you see these templates here? Some of them are really they are professional, and they're going to look really good on TikTok, for example, because I've opened this for TikTok, so it's showing me templates for TikTok. If I opened it for Instagram or Facebook, it will show me for that. So for TikTok purposes, some of them are really good. Like if I use that one, for example, I can put, say I have a TikTok channel about motivation. Okay. Now I could put my brand up there. I could put my web address here, and that could be my own quote. Okay. So keep hustling to the finish line. Yes, every other person will see the same template and may use it on their TikTok. So I could customize that and put my own words in. Okay, so I could double click and highlight, and then I could press delete and get rid of it, and I could type something else in, like I don't know, could type in never give up trying. Yeah, so I could put that, and then because I've just changed the text, but all of this is still there, right? So the text for the top here, if I go like this, and to go down or up, you use this toggle. So can you see that daily motivation? That's here. Okay, so I could change this. I could go success, resources, didn't spell it right. Okay, so that could be my brand. Then I could go down here, click on that, and can you see that's highlighted? So I could change that and put success resources.com. Yeah. So you're customizing on a template, and it just makes it a lot easier because all the things that you would have had to think about as a graphic designer, it's already there. The text, you know, we talked about calmness, using white, pastel colors. It's giving you that calm feeling, relaxation feeling. You know, it's not stressful. It's just working. You know, somebody's typing away, but is basically you know, relaxed and just working and towards success. You know, if that's the message you want to give, then that's great. If you wanted to give a different message, then you would have to find a different template. But at some point, by using these templates, you'll get used to it, and the color theory, what images to use, all of this will come to you, and you'll create your own. You'll get your own videos. You'll know where to place information. Remember how we said how we need to have it in such a way that it's not very close proximity to each other, how it's all spaced out. You can see it's already in this template, it's already done like that, right? But if I wanted to kind of go for another template, I could get rid of this. So I could go back here. I could open a new window. So I could keep that window there. I could open a new window and basically start on a new template. And it saves every single one that you're working on. So that's all. Even if I close that down, it'll still be in my last work projects. Okay, so you don't have to save it as such; it saves it automatically. That's another thing to understand. So here, if I scroll down, there's loads of templates, and depending on what you want to create. If you can't find what you're trying to create, say you want to do something around health, okay, and here it's all about motivation. So you go here, type in health. And there we are. So look at these templates. They're amazing. I mean, very professionally done. Okay. And I'm sure anybody in the health niche can basically make use of this. And that one looks really good. So if I click on that, now this one has health and wellness fitness product demonstration business TikTok video. Okay. So it has 6 pages. Okay. So if I take that one in, okay, and if I play it, Okay, so say you're promoting your yoga class. That's perfect. If you click on that image, okay, I can actually change the text. So it looks like a WhatsApp message, and you can actually change the message. So that message could be customized. So it's really you being creative with templates, but the customer or whoever's like on the receiving end, whoever watches this at the end on your social media is not going to know how you actually came up with this, and it's gonna look really amazing. But you can also add on top of that. So after this scene, what happens? Does the video end or does it continue? And that's where those other ones were. So if I go upload, I can upload. Okay, so I can upload the image, or I can go from the templates. So the templates were there as well. So I could use a template. I could go back. I could start again. If you want to close this, you can close that down like that. Okay. You can go into design. So if you want to go into templates, remember you go to design. Don't you? Because you might be looking for templates and it's not there. So templates is in the design, and we used that one before, so we can add that. Then if we want to have another scene, maybe we want to use this one, we can add that. Okay. So what it's done now is it's basically added the first one, which is simple, just this over that. But it's added the second, which is a bit more complex. Okay. So why is it complex? Let's play it here. Play it. So you got text there, you got thumbnail icon there. Okay, that's all it is. So it's not that complicated, but you can see that text is here. The thumb icon is here, which is an animation, which is why that's highlighted. Then you've got one image. So there's a tiny image there. Don't know what that's about. There's another image there, and there's the full image. So I don't know what these are. So let's see. Don't know what. I'm not sure what it is, but maybe it's I'm not sure what it is there, but there is something there as well, maybe behind it. But yeah, you can add, and when you play both of them, when you play from the start, or if I downloaded it, it would play this first one, and then it'll go to the second one. So you can create like different scenes and basically create a longer video. But then you can also add a voiceover. So if you recorded a voiceover using a different software, or just like a voice recorder, or even your phone, and you record that voiceover text, okay, where would you get the voiceover text? You need the script, right? So you could even use ChatGPT. There's nothing wrong with using ChatGPT, because you're not copying, you're getting ideas. So you might say, I want to create a health and wellness video to promote my yoga business, and I'm creating a 15-second video for TikTok, and I would like a script that basically promotes my product. Here is a image of my product, and you give the product. It will analyze the product, think about what you want to do, and it'll create a script for you. Then you can customize that script so it actually works for you, and then you speak into a voice recorder on your phone. You download it as an MP3 onto your computer, and then you upload that audio. Okay, so go uploads, and audio will appear here. Or you can go add audio, and then record voiceover. Click on that, and then you can record directly from your computer. If you've got a mic connected, you can record directly as you're watching, and then you'll have your voiceover over the video, and then you just save or download. Okay, so I'm gonna come out of Canva now. So in the comments, I just want you to give a little bit of feedback on how you found that little tutorial, that demo. Was it useful? Is it stuff you already knew? Just let me know. Obviously, I could spend an hour or 2 hours on Canva. I could show you other things, but we're limited with time. Okay, that's good. Okay, so the more you explore Canva, this is what I want to say. Look, Canva is here in 2025. Okay, if we went back 10, 15 years ago, the softwares that we would have would not be able to do a lot of the things that I just showed you. Okay, you'd have to use Adobe Premiere for editing. You'd have to use Photoshop for another, like for photos. Then you'd have to use Adobe After Effects for any animations, and it's very expensive as well. So you'd have to get the whole suite, and it's going to be very expensive. Canva is basically got everything that you need for the social media era. Okay, so this is perfect. So it is all right if you're basically using it on a daily basis, or you think, okay, I can make use of this, it's worth my money. But I wouldn't just go spending on every single software you've come across, because once you're in a marketing loop, remember, we're marketers, digital marketers. We should understand when other people are marketing to us, right? Once people know that you're marketers or you're looking for something, you may not realize, but you've opted in for something. Like if you're getting something for free as a trial, you're in the email list because you've put your email in Canva to open that free account, right? And if you didn't uncheck a box somewhere, your email could be shared. If you big professional companies don't do that, but a lot of them do, and they share your information. So what you may experience at some point being digital marketers is getting a lot of spam emails. Okay, and if you're very unlucky, you may get emails coming from these companies that basically create softwares every month. Okay. And then what they do is they get signups, they get people subscribed, they make their money, and then the software doesn't work anymore, it disappears. Okay. So just be careful on what you sign up to when you get things through email. Majority is spam. Unless you actually went and bought that software or you actually wanted it, if you see people advertising to you, it's because you're in that learning phase and you're experimenting with different applications, and you must have fallen into somebody's sales funnel. I don't want you to go through that. The reason I'm saying this is I've been through it, through the learning phases like 8 years ago. Okay, when you're learning, everything seems, because they're putting you through funnels. So the urgency, you're gonna miss out, you're gonna get discounts, all of that's gonna be at you as well. So as a marketer, you need to understand, oh, I know what you're trying to do. I ain't getting my credit card out. Okay. Because if you once you do, you'll fall into that loop and you spend so much money, and all you need to understand is you're learning from me, you're learning from other channels that are professional or have good intent. So you don't need hundreds of pieces of software. The reason I'm telling you about Canva is because Canva is professional, it's easier to use, and it can create content for you that you can use on social media and it looks good, right? You don't have to go to 5 or 6 other softwares and sign up for them as well. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so we've got 15 minutes, so I'm going to go back to the presentation now. So just bear with me a second. Just bear with me. I'm just going to close down Canva. So I don't like 100 windows open at the same time. And now I'm going to share. Okay, so, right, so we're back onto the presentation now. So on this slide, it says, think about your business and the message you want to communicate to your audience. What color palette will represent your brand best? Okay, so we talked about colors. Now, one thing I forgot to show you in Canva is the color palette, all right? So let me just quickly go back. Can somebody confirm that you can see Canva again? Can you see Canva?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Now the color palette here will come when you create something. Okay, so I create say a presentation, right? Okay, let's go social media because most likely you would do that. Now, if I went into say I don't know, let's go into Facebook post, okay? So if you go to Facebook post, now this is it's just taking a bit of time to load. Let it load. Okay, so you can see on the left hand side, these are actually images. Okay, because Facebook posts are mainly images, TikTok is mainly videos. So depending on what you're creating, it's gonna give you that. So if we're here now, can you see you've got a color palette up here, background color? So because it's images, it's graphics, now you're gonna deal with color, right? So if I click on that title, I can see the text color and I can see this area, which is transparency. So this transparency, you can basically reduce it. You can have it like that, or you can add effects. And this is, in a way, you're dealing with color. You're adding a border, so you can go outline and change the outline to something else. And now you have your color palettes. Okay. So because we're now dealing with color, you got your color, solid colors. But remember, our primary colors was red, blue, green. And from that, you've got all these other shades. Okay. And then you've got the tones. And this is what I was saying before. If you were a painter in the real world, you would have to create the shade. You'd have to create the tone, and the way you would create it is with the gray, or is with adding the black or the white. Yeah, but because it's all digital, you're not even seeing tone or shade or you're not seeing any of that mentioned here. Okay, what you're seeing is a range of colors, so you don't even have to think about it. But what you're seeing is your palette. It's still your palette, and this is where you're going to choose your colors. But what you need to understand is each of these are placed next to each other because they blend from one to another. One is created from the other by adding one of the other primary colors or secondary colors. So that's why it's kind of a rainbowish color. So you can see if you're creating something, if you jump using this color, then that color, then that color, it's not going to look good. But if you use certain colors that are next to each other, it makes more sense. Okay, unless it's branding and it's like you got a blue and an orange in your brand, then but also what Canva does, wherever colors in your current image is going to be here as under document colors. So that color there is here, black is here, white is there, gray is there. So these colors are used here. I mean, this is not a great example because there's not a lot of colors there. But if I had a different one, if I go to design, and if I go to this one, okay, you got the template style as well. And you can change the style. If you click on that, okay, and I can shuffle it, you'll have different styles. Actually, this one won't because that's an image, so you can't change that image. But other ones that are not an image, it can give you a shuffle of the template style. But if you click on here and then go to, so if I go to the title and I go to change the colors of the title, again, document colors, again, you've got this, okay? So within that, because I haven't got the whole document selected, it's giving me that. If I go here, background color, now it's about photo colors, because that image is not a document like the previous one, it's a photo. So every single color that's, well, the main colors that are used in that photo are now here. So if you wanted to now create something else, but another image altogether, like you could add page and you got another image. Now to match with that first one, you've got your color palette for the first one that you can now use on the second one. Okay, so you've got the same colors. So for branding purposes, it's great. Okay, and these ones down here are gradients. So literally, they're blending 2 or 3 colors together. And they look really cool as well, but don't overdo these. And you can see all, and you can see all the gradients. Okay, for some reasons it may look good, for others they may not. Okay, but they're gradients where it's kind of blended in the colors as one. Okay, so that's your color palette, and the best way to learn is by experimenting. Okay, so whenever you're creating something, I would start from templates, but then if you're going into something like fresh, you might not feel that it looks professional, okay? But the way you're going to learn to create a professional piece of work is by observing what others are doing and how they're placing their text and what colors are they using. So that's why I recommend using templates until you're comfortable creating your own. Miriam, you got your hand up?
Yeah, does the color palette only work with the templates? So if you put your own image in there, will it
Yeah,
show you all
it
the
will.
colors of the color palette?
Yes, it
Okay.
will. Yeah. So it's not just with templates. If I put this presentation in there, it will show me the colors that I've used in this presentation. Okay. Okay, so we've got 8 minutes left. So let me quickly go through the rest. Okay, so what is your, let me just find where I am.
I just wanted to say quickly as well, you
Sure.
can set up your own palette for
Yeah.
your specific brand colors so you can access them in any document.
Yeah.
It's not just ones that Canva gives you. You can create your own with your own hex
Yes, you
codes
can.
and stuff.
Yes, you can. Yeah. Okay, so graphics, digital graphics and animations. Digital graphics and animations are used across many industries to communicate ideas, educate audiences, entertain, and promote products. Their flexibility and visual impact makes them essential tools in the modern media. Visuals dominate online content. Users prefer quick, easy to understand information with graphics and animation, helping organizations stand out amongst the crowd. And that's what we're seeing with media nowadays. Quick information, short videos, not heavy on animation, but enough to kind of get the message out there. Use and purpose. Okay, graphics and animations serve a wide range of purposes, and the type of content used will depend on the outcome you wish to achieve. So they can be applied to education, entertainment, advertising, marketing, creative arts, and gaming as well. So if you look at education, for example, diagrams, infographics, breaking down information, making it easy to understand, interactive graphics where the students are engaging, virtual reality, augmented reality experiences, enhancing understanding of physical concepts, and visual support for learners who find traditional learning difficult. So visual learning often increases retention and supports inclusive teaching. So by mixing text and images and videos, you're being more inclusive. You're letting people, experience education in a variety of ways. Entertainment, obviously, animated films, cartoons, motion graphics, special effects, visual storytelling, music videos, streaming content using stylized graphics. It's all there, TikTok, Instagram, it's all entertainment. But also advertising. Okay, so eye-catching visuals, capturing attention, communicating messages quickly, animated adverts on social media, YouTube, and TV, graphics highlight key points, key products benefits instantly. Motion graphics increase ad engagement and memorability. Okay, so basically, when we're talking about advertising, okay, is you don't want like a lot of text. You want moving images, you want graphics, but you don't want to overdo it at the same time. Everything needs its purpose. Okay, simplicity sometimes is better than like, okay, I want to put a lot of animations in because when somebody looks at it, you want it to be calming, soothing on the eyes, not too busy because you'll lose the information. So it needs to be eye-catching enough to get the attention and also communicate the message quickly, right? But you don't want to overdo it with the animations at the same time. So marketing relies on visuals to reinforce brand identity and encourage customer action. Consistent brand graphics build recognition, animation used in promotional videos and reels, visuals support storytelling in campaigns, and graphics for social media posts, email banners, website elements, data visualization helps communicate results and insights. Okay, so you might have them as an animated logo, a transition to grab attention, and encourage engagement. So, for example, if there's a little button there, you might have an arrow kind of, pointing to it towards it, an animated arrow. You might have a transition that suddenly kind of appears to kind of wake people up and pay attention. Okay, all of this is done with a purpose. You're not putting in animation, just because you can do it, you're putting it in for a reason. Either it's to put attention there, or get somebody to take an action, or it's basically to build up to something. Okay, so animations do have its place, but don't overdo it again with marketing. So using the same colors, fonts, icons, and visual styles across all marketing material helps audiences to instantly recognize your brand. So you don't want to be using multiple colors and move away from your brand. You want to have the same fonts, the same colors, the icons, so it flows. So graphics supports brand identity by making your content look professional, cohesive, and trustworthy. For example, brands like Starbucks and Apple use consistent visuals so their messages are instantly identifiable. Okay, so we're thinking about short videos, animated reels, motion graphics, and explainers to tell the story quickly. Okay, so if we carry on, creative arts, again, digital illustrations, paintings, concept art, like if you're designing a car, a concept, a new mobile phone, then you're going to have visuals on that. But animations can also help to basically explain, your concept, your idea, your character design for a game. Okay, digital platforms allow for easy editing, layering, and experimentation. So we looked at layers, but this is the same way videos are created, animations are created, even games, they all work on layers, where you've got different layers of characters and backgrounds and text, all kind of placed as layers. So it's important to understand the layer structure. And in the physical world as well, you can create creative art in the same way. If you've got one of those drawing pads, it also works in layers. Photoshop also works in layers. So understanding that is important. So digital platforms allow artists to share work globally. That's another advantage. Okay, because everything's digital, we're working with digital stuff. We can also collaborate. We can have different artists working together and creating content. Gaming is one of the largest industries that uses animation and graphics to create immersive worlds. Okay, you've got 2D animation, 3D animation. They use things like 3D Studio Max and others. These softwares that basically allow them to model objects in 3D, in 3 dimension. Then they use the same thing. They use the colors and everything to kind of bring that to life. Okay, so cutscenes and animated storytelling sequences, user interface, graphics, and basically it's for the gameplay. So real-time animation in game engines, for example, Fortnite, Minecraft, all of these are story-driven games. Okay, and this is where they use animation. Obviously, for us who are not animators, that kind of animation at that level is quite high. But if you understand layers in Canva, that's a good starting point to understand how to animate, and you build up to that. Now, if you want to become an animator, you'd have to get a professional software, but the structure is the same. The layering of content is the same. And you just have to understand the tools of that project. Okay, so basically, as a part of your project, I think you will have an option to create something and put it into Moodle. Okay, so if I just, this is the last slide, I think. Okay, so spend the rest of the session, we don't have any time, developing ideas and plans for the graphics and animation you want to create for your business. You can use Canva to produce mood boards, mind maps, and visual sketches. Okay, so what I want you to do is think about your brand, think about the type of animation or the type of content you want to create. Have a play with Canva, try to come up with something that you're proud of. Okay, and then use that for your you can basically upload it. So you can download it off Canva and you can upload it onto Moodle. You can also take screenshots of it and explain certain parts of your creative work as well. So you can do that. So in Moodle, based on your learning, you should now be able to answer the questions below. So it's Unit 7, Question 1. Evaluate the uses and applications of digital graphics and animations for different purposes. Okay, so everything that we've covered, it should help you answer that question. Okay, so the color theory, the use of digital graphics and animation for different purposes. So we're talking about TikTok, we're talking about social media, but also we're talking about posters, because you can also create business cards through Canva. So, you know, obviously that won't work for animation, moving animation, but graphics it will. Okay, so you're evaluating the uses and applications of digital graphics. Okay, so why would you use certain colors? Why would you use certain graphics? Why would you use animations? When is it good to use animation? When isn't it? So you're looking at different purposes. You can have examples and explain your answer as well. Okay, so at some point when I look at your answers, I will give you feedback, so you'll always have a chance to kind of improve your answers as well. Okay, so I'm just conscious of time. We've just hit 12 o'clock midday. So hopefully that was valuable to you guys. So if you just can give me a score of the session, like usual.